the recovering Democrat Sadiq. He's got some little funky thing going on with his camera. He's still trying to figure out how to make it work, but he's got a trap house background. It's not a big deal, right?
Right.
Anyway, this is the Demetri K show and podcast where we talk about all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we are great people, but we can always be greater, right? There's always room for improvement. With that being said, today we're going to talk about that of Brittany Griner. I know her name is Griner, but I'm going to call her Griner because I just, the Negro in me just don't want to change, right? So Brittany Griner, the superstar, basketball superstar, WNBA. She plays for a team of Phoenix
Mercury. Phoenix Mercury. She's also a former champion. So
correct. And so she was playing overseas in Russia. And it sounds like she's been over there for about 7 years or so.
No, in and out for 7 years. But
yeah.
Brittany Griner is a native Houstonian.
Correct.
And she made Baylor for college. So she's a native person down there.
So anyway, with all of that being said, Brittany Griner is detained in Russia due to being stopped by Russian customs for having a vape pen, a cartridge, a vape pen cartridge full of hash, which is some form of marijuana, from what I understand. Don't give me the line. I've never done any of it. But anyway, and so sounds like they don't know for sure. She's been detained for about 3 weeks or so. Are we having an echo?
They actually put her booking picture up today. So
I saw that. Do we have an echo going on? No. Okay. So from what they can tell, that she's been detained for about 3 weeks, because they said she hasn't been seen in public since like the first part of February. She hasn't posted anything on her social media, and then it sounds like her wife has confirmed that she has been detained. Okay. So they are investigating this little vape pen full of hash, and if it is found out that she is guilty, I guess whenever she goes to court, whatever the process is, she is looking at doing. Yeah, I do it here, Echo. Are you watching me on something else? Let me just mute your mic for a little bit. There we go. Better. Okay, so if she's found guilty, she's looking at about 10 years or so in a Russian prison. There's been some outcry so far. Representative Sheila Jackson-Lee, who is, from Houston, represents Houston, she has demanded that Putin release Brittany immediately. Says that Putin never listens to anybody. He does what he wants. He's just kind of been wreaking havoc all over the world since he's been in power. Also, Senator Lindsey Graham has asked for, South Carolina has asked for her release, and says that they're doing everything they can to get her released. Now, it's also said that Russia may try to use her as leverage because she's, celebrity to some degree. And so they might try to use her as leverage for, releasing of some of their prisoners or
ridiculous.
Well, this is what they're saying, that she's a political hostage, right? And so as it stands, she is over there. So we're going to have this conversation about what she's facing and how she got there and all the politics and everything behind it. So Donovan, what say you?
I'm going to say, first of all, that is totally ridiculous. Okay. And I'm not saying what you're saying is not true. I'm just saying to bring that up is ridiculous. We do not even support the WNBA here in the United States. Okay. And for some reason, that's a man's fault. But if you look at the numbers, more women support the NBA that support the WNBA. If it wasn't for men, there wouldn't be a WNBA, because in its 20-something year existence, the WNBA has never turned a profit. That means they're being subsidized by men, okay, or the NBA, however you want to call it, okay? So a lot of these women have to go overseas and make money, which is perfectly fine. There's a bigger market for it. Stephon Marbury, he's bigger in China than he is here in the United States. He's a legend over there in China. So these women go over there, and I don't blame these women. Brittany Griner, for the team that she plays on in Russia, they pay her over $1 million. That is 10 times what she makes in the WNBA. But you've got these feminazis out here who are trying to compare the salaries of this and that to apples and oranges. So the point of Brittany Griner going over there. She's been going over there for 7 years. We're just speculating, whatever. I'm very sure after going over there for 7 years, she was very familiar with the rules. And what I don't like and what I hate is everybody is making excuses for her bad behavior. You're in another country. Accountability is everything. I know here in America, everything is gray. Everybody operates in gray. Oh, he's a criminal because he was raised in the ghetto. Oh, she's a thought because her mother was a stripper, and she comes from a little thing. We've got all these excuses. Okay, well, let me tell you guys something. When I was living in Japan, ain't no excuses. These are the rules. You break them, these are the consequences. And Dimitri, you and I say this all the time when these people talk about where they gonna live. I'm gonna go over here and live over here. I'm gonna go over here and live over there. No, you're not, because you're gonna go over there with that American attitude that, oh, I'm an American, so I can do it. It's funny how black people, we think we can go over to other countries and we act just as white people do over here toward us in these other countries. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot going on there. I mean, to be looking at 10 years in another country, in a country as austere as Russia, I mean, that has to be very devastating, right? But then there's the other part of it. And listen, I want to say this early because I just don't want anybody to think that we are agreeing that Brittany should be enduring what she is enduring.
Absolutely.
But I think we need to, I think we need to deal with the facts and be realistic. And the one thing, America is, if you ask most black people, is not a good country, right? But no, I'm not even going to say that because I have something else in the back of my mind. But so over here, you are entitled to certain freedoms. Let's just say that people kind of get away with a lot. Now, ordinarily, Brittany being a celebrity over here, I'm sure there's a lot she would get away with, right? Because she's not just a black and she's gay, on top of that.
Which is a crime in Russia, by the way.
Well, she's not just a black gay woman or gay black woman, I don't know however you want to say it, but she enjoys another class, which she is a celebrity and she is wealthy. And so she tends to, have a little bit more leeway to do stuff like that. So she got caught with a cartridge full of hash over here. Nobody probably wouldn't have batted an eye, right? I would think. But so I tend to think it's
legal in California. It's legal in Colorado.
But it's not. Yeah, but
it doesn't matter.
So I would think, and then the other thing I should say too is it's an investigation. So she's not really been found guilty just yet. So these are allegations. They still got to go through their whole investigation and stuff. But let's just say that they did find that and all of that. Well, I mean, in Rome, you got to do what the Romans do. That's the saying. And when in Rome, do what they're doing. So when you're over there in Russia and you know that those type of things are illegal, then you probably shouldn't have that. And plus, I don't know, I just think you being in a WNBA, that's probably against regulations as well for you to be doping to some degree. I'm assuming that's what they call it. And so you go over there. And I don't know what she's thinking, but then you not only over there smoking the hash, but then you go through customs where there's a high probability that you'll get caught with it. And so, now we're going to spend, and when I say we, I'm talking about the United States, all of these resources and efforts to try to free Brittany, which, not Britney Spears, but Brittany Griner, or, try to free her. But it's like, shouldn't you have assumed the risks when you were over there with such contraband, if you will? And I'm sure you've been over there. Let me finish. You've been over there for a while, and the rules and the regulations, not only of the WNBA, but of Russia. I mean, 7 years, I think, is a long enough time for you to know what you're dealing with. So, I mean, she's facing that kind of time. But I mean, who are we as Americans to tell Russians what they should and should not be doing? In addition to, Russia is in the middle of a full-fledged war against Ukraine. I mean, so I don't know how much time they have on their schedule, they being Putin, to say, okay, pause the war. We got an American over here that got caught with some hash. Let's stop it and let's deal with that. I mean, it's like, who knows when they're going to get to that. Wait.
See, the one thing that you're missing in all that, you keep saying American, see, and here's the problem. Just like you said, Putin's in the middle of a war. It's one thing if it was an American Just like the press says over here. Oh, this ain't Africa over here. We're talking about white people. This is Europe. This is, the us, right? This is a black gay woman. Do you think Putin, with all the propaganda that is thrown out about black people, do you think Putin gives a two shits about a black gay woman that got caught with some hashish, and he's going to, stop his time to do some diplomatic situations? No, he's not even going to worry about that. And nobody's even talking about the 2 or 3 Marines that have been incarcerated for years now. They could have been spies. I don't know. It's kind of weird that 2 or 3 of them are Marines. But my point is, you got white male Marines that are over there, and nobody says a damn thing. But it's just amazing to me how the Democrats, how did this get Sheila Jackson Lee's attention so quickly, but we can't get qualified immunity? We can't get a crime bill. We can't get a voting rights bill. We can't get a reparations talk. But the minute a gay black woman gets caught in Russia, she's aware and she's taking the headlines. Where's that energy, Sheila Jackson Lee, for black people just in general here in this country?
Well, I should also say, in all fairness, Sheila is, representative of Houston, and Brittany is from Houston. So maybe there's some commonality there. But I would also like to stretch and say maybe, because I don't know, maybe she knows Brittany personally. I don't know. But I think it's really one of those things. Well, let's just do it just to say we did it, right? Let's do it to say we did it. And somebody's calling me. I don't know who this is. Let's do it to say we did it, right? And then we'll go on about our own little day, whatever, because we'd be remiss not to say something about it. But I don't personally think that Sheila or Lindsay or any of those government officials really care a whole lot about getting Brittany home. Because one thing, Donovan, you are well versed in the casualties of war per se, and same thing like in a prison situation. They're not going to concede the demands of prisoners per se, or somebody holding somebody hostage. Like, okay, well, we'll give you Brittany if you give us 20 of our prisoners that you guys are holding or whatever. So, I don't know. I just don't see them putting forth a whole lot of effort as they would have, like with Otto Warmbier was his name. He was a white kid that went over to, I think it was South Korea, North Korea, one of the two. And he stole the flag, and then they detained him. And I think they sentenced him to like 5 to 10 years for stealing the flag. He was like, I was just playing. I wanted to take it from my grandma. And needless to say, he ended up coming back over here as a vegetable, and then he ended up dying. So something happened to him in that prison. So, Trump and them was trying to get him out and negotiate. But at the end of the day, you don't have.
They got him out, but he wasn't the same. He didn't last long.
They have no need for him now. But the point that I'm making is Sheila Jackson Lee too. You have no power over here to get black people anything. So what makes you think you have power over there to get Brittany out? You've been taking up the mantle of reparations from John Conyers, and what you
zero results.
You can't persuade your fellow people to make a move. And so here you are wagging your finger at Putin, telling him what he better do. And Putin's like, who? You better go tend to your Cinnabons on top of your head, because I got bigger fish to fry. Yeah,
and what's really sad, especially in our community, we don't do enough traveling. That's why I always stress people traveling. I don't care if you need to get on a bus and go up to Oklahoma. If you're from the South, I don't care. Just go to a different environment and see how people are living. Now, in Russia, those people, unless you're an oligarch, aren't living a very, very great life in regards to America or the West, let's say, okay? They're not living like super great. So they don't have a lot of emphasis and starstruckness when it comes to their athletes and their stars. They just don't. It's a different culture. These people get up, they work every day. They are not distracted by the Hollywood or the sports icon thing. They're just not. Most of these people, they're just not. So again, we take our American attitude and we go over to these other countries and we expect the same exact treatment. I was in a country one time, and in this country, well, it wasn't a country, it's Guam, the thing of Guam. And They have good houses there, but a lot of the indigenous Guamanians, they live in these it's just really simple. 4 walls. And you got all these cars around it. And this whole family lives in these 4 walls of a building. And they call it home. But see, if you're an American like we are, you're going to go over there and say, oh, no, I got to have this and I got to have that. And, we got to have, no, the expectations are going to be totally different. And that's one of the main problems. People are looking at this situation as if she's here in America where her celebrity will get her out of a lot of things. Her lawyer will get her out of a lot of things. You can get a lawyer in some of these countries and the lawyer works for the state. That expect a certain outcome. It's kind of like if you're in the military, the United States military. You guys don't know this. The United States, what's that called? The JAG system, which is the jury. It's kind of like in A Few Good Men. They have a 96.9 conviction rate. They almost never lose. Never. Because it's already decided. Here are the rules. And this is the thing. And it kind of goes to what we're talking about, Brittany Griner. You're in the military and they say, you can't smoke weed. You can't do this. You got to be in the barracks at a certain time. You got to do this. These are all rules. You sign up for it. You know what they are. The minute you break them, and if they want to prosecute you, give you Article 15 or whatever, the outcome is you lost just based on the fact that you are in the military, and this is the UCMJ, the rules. You don't have to know all of them, but you got to, have some common sense. What's your defense going to be? And that's pretty much what Brittany Griner is kind of in. And we could go back to that Tachari Richardson thing. Same thing. She knew what the situation was. She was going to get smoked in the Olympics anyway. But the point is, she broke the rules and everybody's, oh my God, it's just weed. In California, it's legal, where she had got caught smoking it, blah, 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 blah. That's not the point. You know what your expectation is. And this is what gets our celebrities in trouble all the time. And Demetra, this is why I say this all the time. Show me a movie where the hero or the heroine, and I don't mean heroin in the sense of the drug, but the heroine in the movie did drugs and everything worked out great for them. They don't even write that up in Hollywood. And here it is, and I'm going to defend Brittany a little bit. Maybe she forgot this shit was in her bag. Because number one, Whitney went to the airport. She forgot her weed was in there. And, they get caught up in this stuff. But that goes back to my point of, I don't care who you are. The drugs dumb you down, and it just destroys your career. Because let's say she gets out of this. What's going to be the repercussions when she comes back to the United States in regards to her career with the WNBA?
So on Sunday, we had a conversation with, a couple people on the show. And actually it was one person. He's pretty adamant about going back to Africa, leaving this behind because it says America's, pretty much a done deal for Black people, which, is right for the most part. But I argued that, okay, let's say we do leave. We as Black people in our current state of mind are going to take those same ideologies and bad habits and all that other stuff to other countries and do the same thing there, and we'll be right in the same situation. So the point to that is we need to change our mindset, right? We got to change our behaviors that are causing us. And I'm not saying what Black people are going through in America is all of our fault, but some of it is. And so we have to change those behaviors, because if we don't, we'll go somewhere else and we'll turn that into America Part 2, right? And so I say all of that to say is, if Brittany is guilty, and we don't know that because they're still investigating all of that, but for what they're saying she is, apparently she took those same ideas and behaviors over to another country who has proven that they are with the stuff, took it over there, gambled and lost. This woman is 31 years old, and she's looking at giving them 10 years. And the crazy part is, because Putin is so vexed with the United States, more than ever, except for when Trump was in office, there's no telling. He might say, throw the book at her. Now let's see what Biden and them are going to do now. Let's throw the book at her, throw the key away, and let her ass get out when she's 41 years old. But all of that really stemmed from her not doing her due diligence and saying, okay, for one, because I teach this to everybody I can. Ask yourself, what is it going to cost me if I do A, B, C, and D? So I don't know if she has a habit. I don't know why Brittany had the hash or whatever it is, but she should have asked herself, and she should have had a conversation with herself and says, I'm a world-class athlete. Mm-hmm. I'm making a major lot of money for who I am and what I do as a woman in basketball. Do I need this, whatever it was, the hash? Do I need this? And if I get caught with this, what is it going to cost me? I got a new wife. I got all this a job that's paying me good money and my freedom. So at least three things off the top is going to cost me. So sounds like a cartridge. It doesn't sound like she had a duffel bag full of them. Mm-hmm. She had a cartridge, and so that potential little cartridge, I'm assuming is little. I've never seen one before. It's going to potentially cost her money, time, freedom, and potentially a relationship.
Right. And you got to think about this too. What if she does get out of it and they ban her from Russia? I'm not saying she can't get another contract somewhere else, but obviously she's been going back to Russia for 7 years. So it seems like that would be the place that she's been going to get to maximize her money potential. So what if they ban her out of there? And that's what I'm saying. I have yet to see where drugs have, at least for us as Black people, has benefited us to where, it's no big deal. It's recreation. It's a big deal when it affects, at least for me, when it affects my livelihood. I'm not going to sacrifice my livelihood just so I could beam out of here for 15 minutes and, come back. My high is counting my money. That's my high. I love going to my bank account and seeing zeros and then kind of manipulate numbers and stuff. But that's always been our detriment as a people. It's like, this woman makes good money for playing a sport. She's up there. There's not many women that are 6'9". There's not many women, that have that height. So she has the notoriety of doing that. And then what's it going to cost you later on down the road, as in your reputation? Is this going to cut out a lot of opportunities? And I'm going to bring up Takari Richardson as an example again, too. Where are the Nike endorsements? What happened to all of that?
So I don't know if Sha'Carri still has those endorsements. I haven't heard that she doesn't, so I'm going to assume she does.
But you don't see the commercials, you don't see anything anymore.
Right, so I don't know. But the other thing too is I think we need to really think about here. This is why we got to be really careful of the narratives we allow other people to read to us and to dictate to us. Because on the surface, we're hearing a couple of politicians, as I know, Lindsey Graham and Sheila Jackson Lee, waving their fist, telling Putin he needs to let Brittany go. But the other thing is, y'all in America got Black people locked up for a country, or even less, and doing God knows how much time. We hear stories, and y'all know I cover a lot of stories on the African Diaspora News Channel. Countless stories of people going to prison for a dime bag, a nickel bag, for years and years, 20, 30 years. And so my thing is, who are y'all? And when I say y'all, I mean these American politicians to tell Putin what to do. And y'all got droves of Black people sitting and rotting to death in the American penal system over, low-level infractions. The president that sits in the White House right now is responsible for that with these crime bills, with these mandatory minimums and all this other stuff. And so when I hear, that's why I said we got to be careful. Because when I hear Sheila Jackson Lee and Lindsey Graham, talking about what Putin needs to do, it's like, y'all need to do the same shit. Y'all got Black people locked up over here, and y'all ain't no bit trying to get them out, or even, waving your finger, let them out. It's not fair that I demand that you let all of these Negroes out of there that's under these crimes, but you ain't said none of that. But yet you're going to tell Putin, who you have absolutely no power, no control over, and I say that to say this. So on the naked eye, it seems that, Sheila Jackson, she's out there, she's sticking it to Putin. But it's like, all right, great. Well, when are you going to stick it to your fellow co-workers who got people in their state prisons right now rotting to death. When are you going to have that much vigor for those people that you do for Putin?
Well, the funny thing is, what you're talking about is hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of America, because here we are worrying about this young lady, and we've got Americans that have been in jail over there, and these guys served in the military, and we talk about how much we love the military, and I'm very sure the State Department is doing what they got to do, because if you're asking me, it could be some spying going on. I don't know. I'm just speculating now. I don't know, but these two Marines that are over there that I do know that are over there, what are you doing there? And what were you doing for them to grab you like that? But hypocrisy, and it just goes back to show you how short of a memory Americans have. Because here we are outraged at what Putin is doing to the Ukraine, but yet does anybody remember how we invaded Iraq that had nothing to do with 9/11, destroyed and leveled the whole country, stayed in Afghanistan for 20 years, hung a man, even though he was a despot, hung a man that had nothing to do with 9/11, and yet Putin pretty much does the same playbook, uses the exact same playbook, and we're outraged.
But who gonna check them?
Exactly.
They ain't gonna, because see, unlike a lot of the other countries like Ukraine, Putin wasn't nowhere even thinking about giving up his nukes. He was like, shit, I got a lot of them. And guess what? I'm not afraid to use them. I'll take us out of here too. And so, some people will say, oh, he's dangerous. But is he dangerous or is he strategic and smart? I mean, it's called the art of war for a reason. Like, you're going to let's say America, who claims to be a superpower, you're going to let them talk you out of all. See, this is the thing. Like, I don't know a whole lot about war, but I do know logic. And so United States did what they did to Iraq, Afghanistan, all the other countries, Libya, all of them, because they bullied them and they had the ability to do so. Why they ain't messing with none of the Koreas? Why they ain't messing with China? Why they not messing with Russia? Because
they got nuclear weapons. Because
they already know those countries are with the stuff. And so all they could do is get on their they being the United States, get on their bully pulpit and say, well, we're going to impose all these sanctions. I heard a report on NPR this afternoon, right before I came on here, that said that United States and Europe, a couple other countries, whatever, they're imposing these sanctions on Russia. They're not going to be ordering any more gas or oil and all this other stuff to try to squeeze Russia out. They have all this oil, right? Well, they said that Russia can also circumvent that and sell it on the black market. And then pretty soon, barrels of oil will go up to $300 per barrel or gallon or whatever it is. And then over here in Houston, Texas alone, shortly we could see over $9 a gallon due to them effing around with Putin and losing. So, I mean, people aren't really thinking along those terms. You know what I mean?
Well, can I interrupt here and tell you what your Secretary of Transportation just said? Pete Buttigieg, what is his name? Buttigieg, whatever his name is. Secretary Buttigieg just said, and I can't say the word. I don't know what it is. So if I'm doing it wrong, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Buttigieg, whatever his name is. Mayor Pete.
Or something like that.
Yeah, Mayor Pete. Let's just say Mayor Pete.
Mayor Pete.
Mayor Pete, Mayor Pete of Transportation said, go get a Tesla. He just literally said that. Average Tesla is what? $70,000?
Well, I made one on computer once, my daughter and I, when they first came out, and ours came up to about $90,000. The one that we wanted. And this is when they first came out.
Right. And you're always with the base model. You always get the base model. No radio. I'll put my own radio in.
Well, I wanted some of the nice stuff on it too. And so for him to say, go get a Tesla is very tone deaf, dude, because for one, you got the resources, but there's a lot of people who, listen, I'm going to tell y'all probably seeing it now. Everywhere I've gone today, whether it's the store or I've driven by a drive-through or something, it's crickets. Nobody's in there. And so if this is not telling you something, people are now starting to feel the crunch. I'm in Houston, right? And so from California, I'm used to paying $4 a gallon. You know what I'm saying? And I've even seen it at $5. And so, though I like it, no, but I'm kind of used to it. But I know people here in Houston are not used to that. When I first got to Houston in 2020, I think it was 2020, yeah, it was $2.30. Now it's over $4, and in some places it's probably $5. And so we're going to start to see and the point that I'm making is with Mayor Pete or Secretary Pete or whatever saying go get a Tesla. I almost called him the N-word because you know that the American people are feeling it more than ever. And so for you to say, well, go get a Tesla. But those are the people we have in power who have no ugly idea.
Democrats.
That some people are wishing that they had a bowl of top ramen right now, but yet you should go get you a Tesla?
Right. You know, let me ask you this real quick, Demetra. When was the last time we saw gas at $2.32?
In California?
Yeah. We were in high school. We were just coming out of high school.
Well, I saw it a couple times. It was.
Yeah, it dropped a couple times in the 2000s, but that was like rare. But I'm just talking about like I remember we came out of high school. I think gas was like $1.76 or something like that.
If that.
Yeah. So I mean, you're talking about almost 30 years.
Right. So
for those people to go to $5, I know they're just like with all their trucks and stuff and SUVs because Texas is
$9 soon here because they're going to try to, they being in America and their allies are going to try to play a game with Putin and lose because they're like,
wow.
You think that nobody's going to buy that oil except the people in the East will buy the oil.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it sounds good to us here. Ooh, Biden's they gonna sock it to Putin. They gonna put all these embargoes and sanctions all up on him. Yeah, and Putin's like, man, hold my beer.
Well, you got to think about this too. And I kind of was thinking about this, being a military guy, and I love history and stuff. And I was watching how Putin and Trump were interacting, and I'm just speculating as a military person. Wouldn't it make sense for him in the 4 years of Trump to stockpile what he needed, knowing he was going to go in and take over the Ukraine anyway? That's what I would have done in the 4 year time. I got a friendly president. I don't really have to worry about it. I let my demands be known that this is my beef with them if they don't do this. Now this unfriendly administration comes in. I already set up my reserves. I've already done all the things that I need to keep my war machine going. And then if you look at the Biden administration, if they were really serious about cutting this guy off at the head, you need to cut off his access to the banks. The West, they won't do it. The major powers don't want to do it because war is big money and they want to fund both sides of this conflict.
And ultimately, Biden, as good as he sounds and he's mad at Putin, he doesn't want to completely piss Putin off. So they're going to, these little bitty things here and there, but he ain't crazy because he know Putin is like, I have no chill, dude. I have no chill at all. But the other thing, too, thinking about Trump, when Trump was in office, remember when one of the Ball brothers was over there was it China? And
right, China.
With the glasses? Trump said, hey, dude, let him go. And he did. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like Trump, but there's something to be said for him being friends with people that most United States presidents or whatever are not friends with, if y'all following me here.
Yeah, because what it is that they use this trope of us versus them. It's the same playbook, us versus them, in regards to keeping everybody distracted. When all of them are in the same, they all go to the same restaurants. All of them are rich. Now, remember on my podcast years ago, and I would tell everybody years ago, these parties flip every 20 years or so. How do I know they flipped? How does Donald Trump, a billionaire, identify with so many populist people that are working class people? They think, oh, Trump's our dude. But then you got the Nancy Pelosi's and the Democrats that keep saying that they're for the people. And yet they give the subsidies to all these corporations and stuff. And you look at where they get their money. They get their money from all of these corporations and stuff. And yet you're telling me the Democrats are for the people, but they can't pass near anything that is substantial for the people. But Trump could give out stimulus checks. Trump could do this. He's freeing black prisoners in the United States. He's just doing this. But you're telling me the Democrats are for the people. And then now you've got a Democratic president who acts like his hands are tied when it comes to black people. And you brought up a good point about when Trump said, just let him go. If Trump was in office right now and Brittany Griner was in that problem, just like, what's his name? ASAP Rocky or whatever that kid was. Another situation. He said, let him go. They let him go. Biden, no way in hell can he do that.
And let's all point out, those were black people that Trump got free.
Right. And
those were black people.
Can't do it. My hands are tied. Nothing I can do.
Those were black people that he got free. Now, I know they were celebrities, but I'm just saying, keeping in the same vein, that he was able to make some things move. And so, I mean, y'all can say what y'all want about this whole situation.
Y'all a bunch of Biden supporters. I mean, y'all a bunch of Trump supporters. Yeah, that's what y'all are. Y'all, Demetria K, you a Trump supporter.
I mean, I don't. At this point, I don't care what people call me. I know what I am. I'm not a supporter of either one of them. But what I do like to delve into is logic. I don't like to go with emotions as much, because emotions get you what we got, and that's Biden and Kamala. And high-ass gas prices and high food prices and everything's going through the roof, instability. I mean, even the other day, he talking about y'all need to get back to work. Y'all need to get back to work so we can start filling up these downtowns again. It's like, you old crotchety, raggedy, you just sound like an old miser. Get back to work. Like, you know what I envisioned when I heard him say that? Is... don't nobody bring me no bad news. On the Wiz, when she was like, wow.
Yes, right.
That's what I envisioned, So it's like, but on the this is really the Wiz. If you really think about we can really break this up. When Trump was gone, can you feel a new day?
Yes.
Right? They shed all the clothes and the Wicked Witch was there.
Right.
And now you got Biden up in there.
Exactly. All his promises never came true. None of it. Zero. I mean, you can say what you want about Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter, neither is Demetria, but if you think I am, that's fine. But at least I'm not going to continue to vote for my own oppression. I'm not going to do that. But everything that Trump ran on, he pretty much did what he said he was going to do. He's going to give rich the biggest tax break ever. He did so. Gave the military more money than any president combined. Did so. I mean, like him or hate him, he's an idiot and he's a douchebag and stuff. But because he was a political outsider and a dumbass businessman, he didn't care what it cost. If you could put a war for 20 years on the millennials' credit card, and you're not worried about the cost of all the money, trillions of dollars that was spent, Trump was like, hey, give it to him. Oh, so-and-so, give it to him. Why not? And they went up to him. They literally said this to Trump. They go, wow, the deficit's going to explode if you keep spending like this. And you know what his answer was? Oh, I'm not going to be here, so, oh well.
Yeah, but so, again, this is not really an argument of Trump being better than Biden, but I think you need to do the math. And so this is what happens, too, when you go with emotions over logic. People, and I would always ask people this, so are you more mad at what Trump is doing, or are you more mad at the things he says? And most of the time...
He's disrespectful.
Yeah, most of the time it was the things he said. Okay, sticks and stones type of thing, right? So then you go over to Biden. Are you more mad at the things, or are you more happy about the things he's saying, or more happy about the things he's doing? So if you line both of those up, well, it's like if you look at Biden's track record, especially in regards to black people, he's been very harmful. And so what we got here is a presidency that was built off of the emotions of the voter. Even look at Biden's tagline, where this is a battle for the soul of the country. But Trump is a devil, and he's taking all of us to hell with him. And if you don't vote for me, we're all gonna burn, right? So people got all charged up. Oh, riding with Biden. Oh, he's so fine. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, it's like the Obama's gonna be back in the White House. Ooh, Kamala good. All of that. All of emotions got us here. Got us here. And so the other thing too is, because I listen to a lot of talk radio. I just do, right? That's my passion when I'm in the car. So
yeah. Weren't you a Rush Limbaugh fan?
Not quite.
No.
not quite. So they were saying how Biden is now going to try to spin this and say, well, it's Putin's fault that the gas is high. But they're like, don't forget, the gas was already on the rise before this war started. You already saw shortages in the store before the war started. So he could try it, and you know why he'll be successful? Because there's still a lot of people who really want to believe that Biden is that guy. He's still trying to save the soul of the country and all this other stuff, right? But the fact of the matter is, dude, the country was already spiraling to the pit of hell before Putin kicked it off for Ukraine. It's a fact.
Well, and the bad thing about Biden is I'll give him this. He did say, I'm the status quo candidate. And he meant that shit. He's the status quo candidate. If you like the way things were, police bashing black people in the head and just, arresting it, I have a crime bill. That's his legacy, is that 1994 crime bill. And he's making sure, like I said, the Democrats have all the power in the world. If you do not repeal that crime bill, everything else really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're incentivizing these states to lock up people for the most frivolous type things. Again, back to the Brittany Griner thing. It's a little or nothing. Like you said, you can have a little bit of weed, and that is the only justification they need to arrest you. And then you have to go through a trial and all that other stuff. You're in the system. And let's say they're going to throw it out. But how many hours are you going to lose going to court just for them to continue it and then continue it and continue? It just all sorts of stuff that's going on. So what we got to start doing in conclusion with the Brittany Griner thing is this. Here's my thing. If they're treating us like shit here in the United States, the freest country in the world, right? Logically, would it not make sense that if you go to any other country, you are not going to be treated as well? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and then the other thing too is maybe she's like, I'm just not going to get caught. Or the other thing it's a possibility that she really didn't believe she was doing anything wrong. We got to throw all the possibilities in there. I don't think whatever she was doing, and I don't know, Brittany, it's funny because I saw her one day. I was in the airport coming from Houston to California, and I saw her, walking by. She was getting off a plane and all that. So I don't think anything that she did or she's accused of doing came from a malicious standpoint and that she was trying to be nefarious or anything.
She is kind of laid back, though. Her personality is kind of laid back.
I think she probably got caught up and it was like a oops type of thing.
But can I just inquire, when you said that she didn't really know, how many WNBA players or just athletes in general in any league where marijuana paraphernalia, even though I know it's not an enhancer, we know that, where it's allowed. So
I'm not saying
I have to push back on that.
Well, I'm not saying that she didn't know she wasn't supposed to have that per se, but maybe she wasn't really thinking that the cartridge was that big of a deal going through the airport or wherever. Because in all fairness, I see people smoking, I used to anyway, before the whole COVID thing, smoking vapes everywhere, because it's not real smoke or whatever. So maybe she wasn't thinking it was a big deal, because I kind of have to put logic to this. Logically speaking, is that, okay, I'm in another country where their rules are a little bit more austere than they are everywhere else, right? I just logically have to believe she really didn't think that what she was doing was that big of a deal or that was going to be an infraction. I just don't see her willingly, because this, like I said, I'm one of those people, I got to really put logic to it. It ain't like she had a duffel bag full of dope. She had a cartridge full of hash. So I cannot believe within my mind that she knew she was going to get in trouble for that and took it anyway. Something tells me she didn't think that was going to be a big deal.
Right, but let me play devil advocate. Okay, let's say we're from California. I'm from California, and I know marijuana is legal, whatever here, right?